So, we sat down to rewatch The Iron Giant and Spy Kids 2, and boy, they were just as good the second time around.
Yeah, it's a good thing they were playing those in theaters.
Yeet.
Right, Bob?
Yeet indeed.
Wait, those weren't Spy Kids 3D and the Iron Man, big guy?
The Iron Man?
Ladies and gentlemen.
Those were new movies. I'm Dan.
I'm Louie.
I'm Bob.
Yeah, we have a guy named Bob with us today.
Hey.
Everybody say hi, Bob.
This is Dead Man Walking.
Wrong, and you should just hit yourself in the face until you change your mind.
The gold standard for dumb storytelling.
Netflix doesn't make real movies, but controversy. Marco 2020.
Benny Doodle Cummerbund.
Good job, Luke. You did it.
What? His creepy lip.
What? I'm the new Kool-Aid Man.
We went to a double feature, and by that I mean we bought 2 tickets and had to rush to the next movie as soon as the first one was over.
And normally theaters don't set up their time so that works out because they don't want people trying to like sneak into second films. And like, once again, we bought both of our tickets, but usually you can't do that because they don't want people just stealing movies. So I was kind of surprised by that.
I didn't know that was a thing.
We basically did just go from one movie
We
to
did.
another.
No, our ticket didn't even get torn.
And
It worked well.
And
though.
people will try and do that. So either way, like our whole idea was we were going to go see 2 films from 2 bloated, struggling franchises, which promise to breathe fresh life into those franchises. 2 franchises that may or may not already be past the point of CPR. It could be worse, though. It's not like Universal's Dark Universe, which basically suffered the production equivalent of smothering grandma with a pillow.
Yeah, you're not wrong. So the first one we started with was Bumblebee, which is another spin-off in the long-running series of 80s nostalgia films. Prominently features music, products, technological limitations of the time period, but with electric guns.
And very, very modern haircuts. That's
John
a weird thing to get hung up on, but it's like, this is the 80s and everyone's got a perfect high and tight.
So, you know, I'd like to think this just exists in the same universe as Stranger Things and...
It's called Nostalgia Land, and
Yeah.
we're stuck in it.
Ready Player One. So, okay, it's a Transformers movie, Bumblebee. And even though there's Transformers in it, we're not calling it Transformers. Because despite having 46 other movies, each one getting released, getting every other week, we're going to put the brakes on all of that. And we're going to start doing, I guess, a Marvel.
Say what you will about the Transformers franchise, but The Last Night had Hannibal Lecter making a joke about nutshots. That's the high point of art right there.
How many of those did you watch?
I have now...
Let's go around the table here. I've seen the original trilogy of Michael Bay Transformers movies. I'm talking Shia LaBeouf 1, 2, and 3.
How about you, Bob?
0.
This was Bob's first foray
My
into
only
Transformers.
interaction with Transformers is I had 3 of the little toys when I was younger, and the arms break off really easy. So
Do not watch any other movies because any goodwill this film built up will be destroyed.
What?
I'm sure.
How many did you see, Lewis?
Well, I know this because I have now successfully sat through every single one.
You're a stronger man than I.
How many
Including
is
the...
that?
That's like 5. I don't even remember. It all blends together in this homogenous, congealed mass.
Hold on a sec. After Shia LaBeouf movies were done,
Marky Mark
picked up the torch.
Mark! I forgot about him.
Marky Mark.
And they were a
marched
funky
forward.
bunch indeed.
I thought there was a trilogy of his movies, or were there just 2?
Even if there were 2, there were too many.
The Mark Wahlberg ones is when the robot dinosaurs started picking up.
Yes, and the last one has robot knights and dragons, and they're hitting each other with giant skyscraper swords in space, and it...
Wait, are we still talking about Transformers?
I'm not even joking.
Oh, yeah.
It's just one bad trip.
The old Transformers movies, the ones before this, the Michael Bay ones, were off the chain.
And that's one of the reasons that Bumblebee surprised me was because of its horrible pedigree. It not just that it comes from the world's most idiotic, bastardized cinematic movie franchise, because even the people who like the cartoons don't like the movies, but it's also directed by Travis Knight, who's the son of the founder of Nike, who is the guy that bought out Will Vinton Studios and founded Leica Studios. So he's your spoiled rich kid. And he's at the helm of a film that is genetically engineered to be a cash grab.
Yeah, this is where...
It makes... And yet it was okay. I didn't hate it.
Well, that was the thing. Is I had to think really hard about what... If this movie was good or not because of just the stupid movies that came before it. After the multitude of other Transformers movies that kind of soured my appetite... They also set the bar so low that like anything mediocre would seem like a miraculous accomplishment.
Tell you what, man, Bernie Mac died and the whole thing went downhill.
So, Bumblebee, it starts with this brief scene on Cybertron during the never-ending war with the mustache-twirling evil Decepticons.
Which was actually really cool. It's like they've even tried to bring Cybertron to Earth in other movies, and we have yet to actually see it until now.
Wait, really? There hasn't been a single
not like
shot of Cybertron.
Well, not to that extent. Like we were actually there. We watched stuff happening on the planet, and I was like, oh. That's cool.
And it was surprisingly cool. And the stuff on Cybertron where it was all robots was nowhere near as confusing as
because all the robots were like nice primary color.
Well, it also set you up for something that wasn't going to happen for the rest of the movie, though.
What is that? Well, wait, is this a spoiler?
Well, no, I don't know. We saw like 2 other Transformer type of things.
Oh, that's true. That's
like,
true.
I was ready for like some real robots kicking each other's butts.
There were other escape pods like launching.
Yeah, and
they never show up.
But well, maybe that's supposed to be set up for other prequels.
I don't know.
Talking about
that's not really a spoiler. There's stuff at the beginning of the movie that's not there at the end of it. They don't even mention it.
Kind of there for a show.
Hey, do you remember your friends? No. Good. Neither do I.
Well, the focus of the movie
you can't talk anymore either.
Is. The focus of the movie is one character. It's Bumblebee. And see, that's where it's probably frustrating for somebody who just came into this, is because that was like a quirk of Bumblebee from the very beginning of like his character, is that he doesn't have a voice. He talks through the radio. And that's something that they have to like set up in this movie.
I can respect that.
At least it was it was kind of the actual process of it was kind of silly, but at least it is an explanation.
All right, so
I can live with that.
So Optimus Prime, while they're on Cybertron, Optimus Prime tells Bumblebee, "We need to go to Earth because every Transformers movie takes place on Earth. Just because plot." I don't actually remember his reason.
Earth is the best.
Earth is the greatest. We gotta go to Earth. Just hang out there.
I've been on Earth my whole life.
And
I can definitely say it's the best place to be.
I don't even want to go to another planet ever.
No, Mars. Forget you.
I hear you can't live any other planet.
Yeah, I enjoy breathing.
What a weenie.
What would...
So, Bumblebee, lucky enough to go to Earth. However, unlucky enough that he happens to land in the middle of a military training exercise. Or no. That's why he's lucky. In a military training exercise with paintballs.
Run by John Cena!
But plot twist, they also have live ammunition, because that's safe.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, oh no, look, there's a robot here. Quick, everyone drop your paintball guns and grab your real guns. Like, man, it sucked to be the guy that get those confused earlier in the movie. So, oh no, you shot Chuck. But for real.
So it did seem like they started shooting at Bumblebee a little early. Like I'm trying to remember the circumstances around them starting to fire at him.
30 seconds after he arrives on Earth early.
No, holy crap. If something shoots from space into my living room, I'm going to try to do something bad to it.
I don't blame them for that. I don't blame them for that.
Bob, what are you going to try to do?
I'm going to teabag him. I think, especially in that situation,
Bumblebee is rocking back and forth in a shower.
and it's Halo.
All right, so they shoot at Bumblebee, and then a Decepticon shows up and rips Bumblebee's voice box before Bumblebee kills him. So there's a little back and forth there. It was a fun scene.
That's what kind of annoyed me, though, as someone who did not come in with any knowledge of this, because Bumblebee could talk. And then all of a sudden he has to...
And I thought his voice was somebody I recognized until I looked him up and realized he was nobody I recognized. So
I hate it when that happens. When you realize the wave wasn't meant for you.
Yeah, Bumblebee has a familiar face.
I mean, the upshot of the plot is that Bumblebee loses his memory. He's being hunted by Decepticons, and he has to befriend an angry teenage girl
with a dude's name,
who just really wants a car, like unhealthily so.
Well, she
wants that car.
She's about to turn 18. Her name's Charlie, by the way. That's the name.
And she is just the most obvious pastiche of John Bender from The Breakfast Club, and they know it. Like, they reference The Breakfast Club in the movie.
I can appreciate that
multiple times. Yeah,
I love The Breakfast Club.
Well, and that's part of like the '80s nostalgia movie series is we got to have throwbacks to several '80s things. So this one, big throwback to Breakfast Club.
I wish they would have had some hair bands in there for
soundtrack,
though.
I wish they would have had like Yeah, let's say they have like a lot of. I feel like they had 70s music.
Yeah. Whatever it was did not quite work for me.
Okay, 70s music, like not just all 80s nostalgia. It's actually part of what I liked here is that it felt a little more like a real person. It wasn't just somebody who was living with the latest and greatest 80s stuff. Like,
It's true.
she was clearly a character that
That's true.
had her own personality, and like she was outcast for, I guess, being like a metalhead or something.
She
Like,
was just outcast because she was like her dad died and she was mad about it, which is fine.
Well,
and then
there's
she was
that,
just a jerk to everyone. Like she's a like
emo.
And I was actually
Yeah.
glad that they actually built on this character arc down the road because she was like just her mom's trying to be nice. No, I hate you, Mom. Her little brother's just being a little brother. I hate you, little brother. Her stepdad is trying real hard. I hate you. You're not my dad.
I actually loved the stepdad.
Yeah, the dude was just like he's like, all right, let's be positive.
The Smile book killed me. Oh my goodness. There's a whole book on that.
I mean,
Did you look up the book later?
I'm going to Amazon Prime it.
Happy Kwanzaa to me.
So they go back and forth like this plot between like really good like Cybertron, just goofy like giant robots shooting at each other type stuff, like Saturday morning cartoon but put into a live action movie, and then it goes into this sort of coming of age teen comedy drama type stuff, and it kind of
covers a lot of
bounces
ground.
those two tones.
It is very derivative, but it's done very well. There's not a whole lot of original material in this movie, but the retreads they have, they make very good use of them.
So, anyways, just to sum up the plot, she sort of befriends Bumblebee throughout the course of the movie, and then Decepticons are after Bumblebee and, you know, trying to figure out the Autobots plot, which Bumblebee has hidden.
He doesn't even know it, though.
And apparently, yeah, because that he
loses
has
his
amnesia.
memory,
He
yeah.
loses his memory, and which apparently causes him to revert to like a childlike state. Like
That's
he goes
why
from being a soldier
Yeah.
to like a child.
Like, I wasn't joking about this being the Iron Giant, but with extra steps. Like, Brad Bird should be out there demanding royalty fees for this film.
and the Iron Giant parts of it, I'd say, were definitely the weakest parts of the movie. I think.
Well, that was most of the overarching plot structure.
Yeah.
Angry outcast kid befriends giant robotic invader from space who has lost their memory. Used to be a war machine, but's now kind of a tard and needs help.
It's the specifics.
And they have to hide him from the government that's trying to hunt him down
It's when
because
it
they want to
became
use him
in
or
a
destroy him.
garage.
when we get into spoilers, when it gets more and more so,
The main
Iron
character's
Giants-
dad is dead, and they're not really warming up to who the mom's warming up to. Dan, you watched The Iron Giant, admit it.
I'll get into that. We'll get back to that in a second. How do you think about how this movie looked? You okay?
From the front row, it was great. I missed a third of the movie. Oh.
And break.
Yeah.
So what we could see. The first thing I noticed is that the movie is not directed by Michael Bay. I did not need to know that it wasn't directed by Travis Knight to see if the movie wasn't directed by Michael Bay. Because...
And the thing is, Travis Knight, for as much as I was busting him for being a rich kid, he has to be a half-competent director because he was actually the one behind Kubo and the Two Strings. I didn't know that. And that was a really good movie.
I love that movie.
So the guy, he may be a rich kid, but he has the talent.
The talented rich kid.
Michael Bay also has more money than anyone but maybe Jesus, and he made the other Transformers movies. Money cannot buy talent.
So in Bumblebee, we all don't have to put up with nonstop explosions, parallax shots, roly-poly robots, and parallax exploding roly-poly robots.
It was a visually
all of those
clean film. It was a refreshing breath of air after the mess.
It's definitely a Transformers movie. There is a few things that it shares with the earlier films, the general look of the robots.
It felt like one of the cartoons because it was about robots and people being friends versus robots just fighting and then people kind of doing stuff while that happened.
And that's the primary thing that it fixed is we're going back to the Shia LaBeouf movies. Think about Shia LaBeouf's relationship with Bumblebee versus, I don't know who this actress's name, but her character Charlie's relationship with Bumblebee.
I think she's like Haley Steinfeld or something like that.
I've never heard of her.
in another movie.
You've seen her.
Wait a second.
She's in Pitch
I
Perfect.
haven't.
She was in True Grit? That's what that little kid grew up to be?
Yeah, she's on the radio.
Nice.
I'm not saying she's good, but she's on it.
Huh.
She's in Pitch Perfect.
That's true. Like, okay, apparently she has been in several things that I have seen, and she just does not have a memorable face.
Like she's getting there, but
she's just a very forgettable person.
who are you again?
But she does a good job. She does
And
a good job.
unfortunately, we might not see her in another one of these. If there is a sequel to this,
Yeah, they wrote her.
That's what I don't.
Yeah.
I don't understand that.
I think that's a spoiler.
yeah.
All right, let's get into spoilers.
Hang on, we're not done yet.
We just spoiled part of the film.
We might have. All right, fine, let's go.
No, we did.
All right, let's start with the good.
Bob, what would you say was good about Bumblebee?
Oh gosh, don't start with me.
What's your favorite thing about this blockbuster?
Just think of one.
One thing. Just one thing. What'd
You're
you
required to give one thing.
Dude,
This is the guest rules right now. We have to put the guest
All right,
rules
well, I'm going to lead off.
Give me some time with this.
I'm going to lead off with something that I know is probably on Dan's list, so I'm going to steal it.
Wow, thanks.
Some of the robot fights were actually a heck of a lot better just to watch because you could see the individual robots, and there's this rolling mass of transforming metal just blurring across the screen. And it was like, oh, that's an Autobot, that's a Decepticon, that one's red, that one's blue, this one's yellow.
This one's got him in an arm lock. This one's shooting at him with this gun.
You could actually see what was happening.
Yeah, you could see the blow by blow versus just blows. Incidentally, how we describe the Michael Bay Transformers movies. Hey, blow.
Dan, what was one of the good things about the Bumblebee movie?
John Cena's best performance.
Right.
Not because he's a great actor,
Because he's John Cena.
But he's not.
This movie this movie uses him like a good movie uses Arnold Schwarzenegger.
It's like, all right, what do I do? Just what you do every day you have been alive.
I distinctly.
There's a door in my way.
That is the best line that's ever been uttered in a movie.
He's just walking towards his own building.
Exactly, just get the key. Let's get the key.
Like a beeper garage opener or something.
And it's not even like pry it open, it's blow it up. Like
they didn't even lock it. They just closed it. It's a garage door.
It was beautiful.
You're the government. You should be able to open that door.
So just
or
every
you're John Cena, open a door. Like
John Cena, if I remember correctly, he had very few like serious moments. It was just he showed up to just be the army man.
I think they like kind of attempted serious moments and it didn't.
At the very end, it just was like, no.
He was really just there for namesake.
I think he was there for namesake, but it was also I think he was there to clearly be like cheesy army man. Because like at the very end, he's like he like salutes Bumblebee. He's like, "Good job, soldier." Yeah. It's like clearly there to just be.
Well, someone had to say it.
Do that John Cena thing. John Cena.
Well, outside of John Cena and maybe like her definitely not boyfriend, the acting was pretty good. Those two were the weakest part of the film, but I was like
I liked him.
You liked it, but he wasn't like the not boyfriend.
Mimo or whatever.
Mimo,
I
don't
liked
remember what his
him
name
because
was.
he was perfectly awkward.
He was, but I could never tell where the awkward was being forced or where it was just like.
I think that's the best part of being awkward. If you can't tell how awkward I'm being, I'm crushing it.
That's true, but.
It was like
I honestly think that.
It was like the uncanny valley of awkwardness. I'm like, I don't know if this is just the actor not being a good actor or if it's him being a really good actor.
He reminded me of the
he was given some pretty dumb
whiny
lines.
Character. Yeah, he was given some dumb lines, but he reminded me of the whiny character from the Jurassic World movie that we just saw, the last Jurassic World movie. There was a character who would just scream at everything.
Oh,
that's
that guy,
all
the
he was
Hacker
there
Man.
for. Yeah, Hacker Man. Yeah, but this guy, he seemed to be that sort of character, but done a little bit better. So I can kind of see where everyone's coming from.
But the acting was surprisingly good, especially like if you're going to phone it in anywhere, it's going to be a Transformers movie because like 12-year-olds are watching it, they aren't even going to notice. You're going to walk home with a huge paycheck. Why bother trying? And yet everyone really did. Mm-hmm. The other thing was the guy that played her younger brother. I was like, wow, this is a child actor that's not horrible.
Yeah, he was entertaining. Like, he really sold it as annoying.
And he actually developed as a character.
Say, he crushed being annoying.
But that was the thing, is like he didn't stay annoying either, because like at the end of the day, he still loves his big sister. Yeah. It's like, okay, because I thought, that's the other thing. It would be easy just to leave them as like flat representations of characters and call it a day. Well, it's a Transformers movie. The 12-year-olds aren't going to care. But they actually did more than they had to.
And that's all the rest of the Transformers movies did. Once again, I should probably stop comparing it to other Transformers movies, but you kind of can't help it.
I honestly hope that this is a new beginning for things. I would be happy to see other prequels that resemble the cartoons, that are well done, and have people in them that actually are doing their best to be in a movie. As opposed to, hey, I was found in a cafe somewhere and I have nowhere else to be.
Well, I mean, if we're talking about, a movie you should be phoning in for, this Transformers movie, I don't know how it was pitched, but is definitely the riskiest one. Riskiest? Did I say that right?
Yeah.
It's like you're about to laugh. Seeing as, and this is part of why I like it, is because we're only focusing on a few characters. So the previous Transformers movies had like 40 different robot characters, including Megatron, including Starscream, and all the big names that have to be in every single one.
I did like the appearance from Soundwave in this one. That was kind of cool.
Which one was Soundwave?
The one.
What did he do?
He was like at the very beginning of the Battle of Cybertron. He was talking
Okay.
kind of funny. He launched the other robot out of his chest. It was a callback to like the old cartoons.
Okay, so yeah, on Cybertron we saw a little bit more, but for the rest of
like
the movie, it was really Bumblebee was the only big name character. Like I assumed the rest of them were real characters from the shows.
They didn't even use the
but...
names of the two villain Decepticons that were hunting them down. They had names. I don't think they ever mentioned them.
What? Say something, Bob.
It's not what we're doing tonight. It's something irritating me.
Okay. So so my point is, this movie, it's already doing significantly worse than Aquaman. I actually thought this movie was going to do decent. I don't think it's made back its budget yet.
It has. People have been like, there's Transformers fatigue, there's franchise fatigue, and like other ones have just been so bad. Parents are getting tired of taking their kids to the movies to see them because then the parent also has to watch the movie.
Right, and there's better things you can take your kids to go see.
They're all waiting for it to show up on Netflix because, like, you know what? I'm just going to let them watch that and I can be at the other end of the house and pretend like I made different life choices.
Do you have anything else to add, Bob?
I think I enjoyed that. At least I thought we had intelligent villains.
They were fun.
I don't think they made any like huge errors. Like
That's true.
At the end, like they just got beat.
Right.
And like when they decided to trick.
That's actually a really good
point.
I didn't even think about that.
What's his name? The scientist.
Oh yeah, they called him.
Powell.
Friend Powell.
Yeah. They actually tricked him instead, because like usually you're used to seeing like villain comes to whatever planet and they just kill whoever they need to. Right. They decided to use resources on Earth, and I could really, that was a nice change for me.
Yeah, it wasn't just the generic like mustache twirling
like they
thing.
Actually put, like there was a little bit of thought behind it. It wasn't just like we're evil and we're also stupid. Let me blow you up.
And they were clever about it.
Yeah.
And so to see the good guys like overcome them. No, I completely agree. Yeah, it was that was a nice change of pace. Something also missing from previous movies where it was just, I don't know, what the villain's plan was just there's a billion of us and we're gonna kill you. Like,
well, it's strange. You're like, I don't have a large history of watching movies, but the ones that I do, villains are supposed to be like geniuses, but they make so many stupid errors.
Yes.
In this, it didn't feel like that happened. Like it was truly just like Bumblebee. I don't know if he caught you on a bad day or something, but you got your butt handed to you.
So now, what was bad about Bumblebee? I feel like we should cover those because there were some rough spots, so I feel like we should cover them before we get into Aquaman. Before we give Aquaman the paddling.
I mean, there's the bad and there's the ugly.
So what was bad?
What was bad,
Bob?
Yeah, Bob.
Hold on, I gotta think of my bad.
You gotta think of your bad too.
I had an ugly.
I mean, so for me,
I think I might have several uglies.
So for me, the worst thing in this film, and I mentioned it before, is the dialogue was really, really dumb. It was delivered well, but there were some stupid lines in here.
They were so desperate for one-liners.
And it wasn't like, some of them weren't even good one-liners. I don't even remember them. Like, it was just a lot of forgettable, just back and forth. Like, I get it.
When there was that, like, car chase almost, and the dad whips around and does a Louie, and then they get the son in the back seat, and he's just like, wicked, or whatever. I was just like, come on, Chief. Like, you're a little bit better than that. Like
that line was delivered, or that line was dumb. Can I just go back to good for a second here? Because I actually really liked when everybody skids to a stop. Because normally back to like when you watch a Michael Bay movie, you expect everything to explode, flip all over the place, and go nuts.
This was flipping off Michael Bay.
Everybody, exactly. You expect a 8-car pileup. Instead, you have an 8-car. Everybody slams on their brakes and nobody hits anybody, and that was hilarious in of itself.
That was better than any explosion could ever be.
I think there was, and then like at the end, they had like one car like launch over them or something. But
Now, the ending, like for me, like that final robot fight did kind of descend into the epileptic mess of the other Transformers movies.
that's the first thing I have on my bad.
I was like, oh, so close.
Is the ending sequence of this movie almost just ruins the entire thing for me. Because it all boiled down to, like, the end plot was, we gotta break this giant signal tower. And
break
they
the thing,
have to,
beat the dude, go home, have a pint.
And they have to force a way into the puny humans being able to help during this.
That goes into my bag.
What? Go ahead.
In this situation, people need to stop trying. Like
It's like Godzilla. Just let Godzilla sit back and let Godzilla fight the monster. We can't help.
If a tiger is fighting a tiger, a mouse doesn't go in to try to help.
If a tiger's fighting a tiger, a person does not go into hell.
True, but like,
Unless
But
they're really,
the comparison
really
is apt
drunk.
there. The comparison is apt there with size.
When Finding Nemo tells Bumblebee and
man.
Charlie that he's going to hold them off while they leave, it's like, dude, they're literally going to drive past you. You're a human and they're in cars.
He's
And
talking
they're like,
about
"You're
the not
you're
boyfriend
not
character, by the
stopping-"
way.
Yeah.
When he says
You're
Finding
not-
Nemo.
You're not
His name is-
stopping anyone.
And he doesn't.
He's not even a speed bump. They don't even run over him. Like,
They just go around him.
yeah.
To be fair, that was a gag. They did use that as a gag.
But then when he comes
But
up
it
at the
was
end in his
painful
little
when it
scooter,
started.
I'm here to help save the day. It's like, dude, everything's already over. You missed it.
Yeah, for me, the only other bad thing was what I was already griping about was just it's super derivative storyline. Not that it's not done well, but everything you see in this film, you have seen somewhere before. Probably several times.
Yeah. Just like we've seen the ending scene in the movie. The roly-poly robots, dude. They're just... There's a scene...
Gotta roll, gotta do like
There's a scene that distinctly reminded me of the old Transformers movie, because it was every other scene. When Transformers were fighting, we had to see the scale with another person. And so it was always Subject A running away from Subject B, which happens to be giant robots, all fighting in a Katamari
I want
ball
to stop you right there.
while they're running away Indiana Jones style.
It is always Subject A running away from a green screen, which is sometimes painfully obvious.
Yeah. True. So there's a scene where Charlie's running away from Bumblebee fighting
It
someone else, and they're like inching closer towards her for
and
some
it just looks
reason.
so flat.
Yeah.
There's a good that I liked there though. I don't know
Okay,
why- I don't know.
we're
I'm
bouncing
sorry.
back and
I
forth.
don't
Here we
know
go.
why I thought about it.
Bob, you're fired.
Fire me away. No.
Blow me away.
When they get caught by the cops, that was fun. And they're like driving away, going through the tunnel and stuff. I enjoyed that.
Wait, hold on. Describe the scene again.
They get caught by cops.
The cop tries to pull him over, and Bumblebee just drives.
But like he's also changing shape and form a little bit, and
But the way they did it, it was clear, it was concise, it was obvious. Versus the very end, which is like, okay, we just have rolling balls of metal.
But it was also Bumblebee understood you need to go. Do things. It wasn't just like dumb toddler Bumblebee. It wasn't just dumb toddler Bumblebee.
Hold Bumblebee.
Bumblebee's bumbling around with those big floppy metal ears. Take that, Tim Burton.
Are we ready to move on to the ugly?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Wait. Someone remind me how John Cena helped in that end fight.
He didn't help in the whole movie.
He distracted him. He shot some stuff at him, and they're like, "Oh no, F you, John Cena!" And then they shot him.
Okay, another bad. This also relates to the end. Remember when I said the parts of the movie that feel distinctly like Iron Giant are some of the worst? I'm talking like it looks like the scene was pulled directly, like visually, not just story structure. Bumblebee, at the end, his eyes turn red, and he starts like turning into a homicidal maniac. Was that at all foreshadowed? Was that at all like...
Nope.
Do we ever mention it again?
To me, that just kind of felt like he realized that he has guns finally. and not
No, to me,
mechanical fists.
So does when like a child realize that he can like pick up a baseball bat and like hit somebody with it, does his eyes turn red?
I know mine did.
To me, that was when Travis Knight, the director, took the script, which was just the Iron Giant with all the characters' names crossed out in Sharpie and rewritten in hand, and gave it to the design team, and they just copied what was in the Iron Giant script.
But in the Iron Giant, his eyes turned red before, like as a defensive measure against things. That fit in the structure of that film. In Bumblebee, he was a soldier before. His eyes didn't turn red while he was fighting.
Sometimes
ever.
you never know where you're going to be when the flashbacks hit.
Oh my goodness.
I feel like that was an ugly thing. What else?
Oh, there was a lack of flashbacks, which is a positive of this movie.
I was going to say, I'm completely fine with that.
Over the next movie. We'll get into that after our ugly of Bumblebee.
What was ugly?
You better start with something, Bob. I swear, if you don't have something,
No,
you're
I
fired
literally-
again.
Because my ugly thing was just Charlie Watson's
Oh, you
pretending to be
missed it.
John Bender, and I'm just like, all right, I get it. You're an angry kid, and they hammed that up. Now the uniforms they had to wear that were humiliating and striped, that was funny. I too had to wear a humiliating uniform when I worked at an amusement park back when I was in high school. Not my fondest memory.
That was perfectly awkward, though.
What was ugly, Dan?
Well, you said it earlier, the front row of the theater. Those seats just shouldn't exist.
That's on us.
That is on us. When John Cena showed up, he looked like a Gears of War character. His head was tiny.
That's just John Cena on like a Tuesday.
Well, the front row of the theater was the Tuesday.
There's still a door in my way.
I don't know if this movie was actually a prequel or a reboot, and it bothers me. I would like to think it's a reboot.
That didn't bother me at all, just because it's my first one.
Right.
I will be
As a
perfect.
standalone movie, I was okay with it.
But this being your first one, I don't want you to like watch this and be like, hey, this was a fun movie. Let's see where this leads into, and then start watching the Shia LaBeouf movies.
Well, real quick, like, do you have an ugly thing yet? Because if not, I think it's safe to wrap this up by saying that
Wait. Go on. You have an ugly thing.
Yeah, I do. Hold on. I literally had it twice.
It's like watching a man with constipation.
So this is, I don't know what you're into, but my ugly is, and I don't know if you guys agree with this, maybe this is something I just missed. Bumblebee goes to Earth. Don't die. Don't set anything up.
Just be there.
No, literally, like, it's not like he's supposed to set up like a base or anything. It's not like you're supposed to find humans that can help.
That's
Go
a
there,
really good
go
point.
there,
He's like, go there,
don't die.
protect the planet. One
From
dude.
what? From what? If he doesn't even show up there, Decepticons aren't going there either. There's nothing to protect.
Is he just supposed to go there to like hide?
This is a good question.
Was it.
Nobody knows.
So, and
no.
that's
It
that's
can't
what
be
I
just
mean.
to hide because that is the planet.
When I introduced
There has
like
to be a
Optimus
point to go
Prime's
there.
plot as go to Earth because movie, I don't actually know what that plot was. I don't remember what the
in a way,
plan was.
I don't know anything about the Transformers universe or anything. I don't know if there's life on other planets or anything. But if there, for me, there isn't. So go to this planet where there's already intelligence. To me, that helps the Decepticons even more because they use that to their advantage. Then
We're going to steal you and create the internet.
it just, I don't know. Go
Oh,
here,
yeah.
don't die. Why can't I go to another planet and don't die?
A planet that doesn't have things that will shoot me.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
We're
I
judgmental humans.
I gotcha. Yeah,
People are jerks.
that's
They
just
are.
that's
Other
like,
planets don't have humans. They're not jerks.
and once again, that's like a Transformers quirk. That's just something that like we've all come to accept, I guess.
Earth
Yeah,
is the
someone-
best. Everybody
yeah.
wants to be here. What we need around our whole planet is a big, beautiful wall. And we're
Around
gonna
the
make,
whole
and
planet.
we're gonna make
Planet.
Cybertron pay for it.
Oh,
They probably have the money.
Autobot immigrants,
At
get
the,
out!
At the end of the day, this is
Deassemble.
no, assemble that wall.
Yes. Like Legos.
I think we're thinking the Autobots roll out of our planet. At the end of the day, this is a film that, if this was a reboot of the franchise, I would be completely okay with that. I went to this film expecting, like, I did not want to see it. I didn't want anything to do with it. And now that I left it, I'm like, all right, let's have some more.
I wasn't expecting much, but I was also curious because we had already seen positive reception before going in, which is
Weird.
already unusual for a Transformers
Very
movie.
weird.
Yeah.
I went in not expecting much, and to me, I didn't see a lot. It was good, but only if I didn't think about it, and I probably wouldn't buy it.
And that kind of leads into the hold on, that kind of leads into the next film we watch, because this is what I was saying in the theater.
Do you want to give recommendations first overall?
I would recommend seeing Bumblebee. I feel like it's worth seeing. It's a fun movie. It's dumb, but it's fun.
I would also recommend it tentatively, especially if you've been soured with Transformers movies and you feel like they could be better. This is if they're better.
I give it 4 out of 5 Spaceballs paid for by Cybertron.
I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. 3.5 out of 5.
Bob, if someone came up and asked you if I should see Bumblebee, what would you tell them?
If you have nothing better to do.
Fair enough.
I don't know. I think it was like a 3 or a 4. I'll give it a 3.5.
Okay.
I'll be that guy. It was entertaining, but not great.
It's worth watching, not worth going out of your way for.
Yeah, don't buy it.
Should all acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should all acquaintance be forgot and never...
Now, like, we're talking about it being a dumb movie, and this is what I said in the theater after we got out of the second film, was that Bumblebee was the world's dumbest film made in the smartest possible way, whereas Aquaman is a very smart movie made in just the stupidest way that it's possible to make a film.
How was it smart?
You had some big concepts you could explore, and they just ignored all of them. And for that, I judge Aquaman more harshly because I feel like it had a whole lot more potential, and it squandered everything. I mean, everything.
It's here. The movie about the fishy guy from Justice League. I'm not talking fishy like the hyperlink your friend sent you with the email titled, "Win a $50 gift card if you click on this link." I'm talking literal fish. That's right, the frat bro with the trident in his back, and he's cooler than ever.
To sum up,
Move out of the way, 007. Aquaman is here. He don't need your land, babes.
Jango Fett bangs a mermaid, and that mermaid's apparently the king of the ocean. Aquaman tried to do so much in this. Like, there was so much in this movie.
Hold on a second, real quick. We already know what you think. Bob. Real quick. First impressions. Aquaman. What did you think?
Not spoilers.
Just a big fat no. Just all around this movie.
Okay, let me say this though. I had someone else, like literally maybe the next day after we saw it, maybe the one after, buy a ticket for me. So I saw it again.
Oh no!
Oof.
What?
Yeah.
That's a big oof.
Look,
Big
I don't
oof.
go out of my way to watch movies at all, but if you're dumb enough to buy me the ticket, I'm going.
It's free.
Exactly. I like free stuff.
So, before we continue, I'll just start with this. I had a blast watching this movie. It was so dumb, but it was such luscious eye candy that I didn't care.
It was fun to watch. It was just
Yeah.
so stupid.
I kind of loved it. Like, I might actually watch this again because it was so crazy.
Just everything was going on 1,000 miles an hour, and it was just too cool for school.
They could not, like, start a fight scene without an explosion.
That's how the fight scene started.
Every
It was
single
like the
fight-
starting bell. Bomb.
The first time I
Punch
loved
him.
it. The second time, I'm like, all right. The third time, just like, what are you doing? Like,
The fourth time, you're just waiting for your like explosion in 3,
Yeah.
2, 1, and boom.
there hasn't been an explosion in 15 minutes. What's wrong?
Do you have a plot summary, or am I summing this one?
You could sum it up if you want to, but I mean, is there a way to? I feel like you can either sum it up really, really briefly or take way too long because it's.
Don't overthink this.
Basically, Atlanta mom. Her name is Atlanta, by the way, which was rough. I'm Atlanta from Atlantis, and then
It was definitely a theme.
she boinks Jango Fett. We're gonna keep calling him Jango Fett because I haven't seen him in any other
You guys
movies.
have very different names than I do.
So Jango Fett is a character from Star Wars. That's
The actor that plays him is a Maori guy from New Zealand, and the only other thing I've seen him in was actually like this quasi-documentary about like urban sprawl and crime in the Maori peoples. I have not seen him in anything else either.
Okay. So anyways, they have a baby together. Baby grows up, destined to be the ruler of Atlantis, but Atlantis doesn't like him or something.
The entire movie is Aquaman proving that he can and should be king of Atlantis, even though he doesn't really want to be.
He never actually goes there, until this movie. even though the Justice League movie took place, but there was a place called Atlantis in the Justice League, which was, I guess, a fake. I guess that was a ruse designed to let Steppenwolf take the seizure cube so the Atlanteans didn't have to be bothered with that movie.
He shows up briefly in another spot in Justice League, and it's a spot where they meet at the beginning of the film, those, like, kings.
Okay. So that wasn't Atlantis.
It's part of it. Atlantis is, like, one of the kingdoms under the sea, and it's also the name for, like, the larger thing. It's kind of convoluted.
Yeah.
The whole movie's a little
think?
convoluted. It's like the 12 Tasks of Hercules, but Aquaman's like, you gotta go here, do this, go here, do that. Like, to clarify a little bit, he's an illegitimate child. Atlantis sees him as an illegitimate child. They're like, he was born out of Atlantean wedlock. He can't inherit the throne. He's a half-breed. We don't want him. And he doesn't really want them either. The problem is their current king is a nut. Yeah. And so it's like, Aquaman, you have to take the throne. He's like, I don't want the throne. Well, you got to take the throne. I don't want that throne. Well, please take the throne. I want the throne. Someone give me the throne.
And that's where the plot starts to, like, that's like the worst part of this movie is that whole, like,
that's
plot.
when it turns into Spy Kids 2. Just like running through just a system of traps trying to find the treasure.
All I could think about for the whole thing was National Treasure.
Yes.
Aquaman should have been Nicolas Cage.
I would have paid so much money to see that movie.
Go to the Sahara Desert that wasn't a desert before. Go to the bottom of the ocean to find something.
Wow. I'm loving this.
Nicolas Cage's dude.
Cage.
I need a moment to just imagine.
Henry Cavill isn't Superman anymore. Batman, Ben Affleck's Batman's about to retire. We can get rid of Jason Momoa's Aquaman. We can slip Nicolas Cage in there, slip a whole new Justice League crew. We got this, boy.
No, the women of America wouldn't stand for it. That's the reason this movie is making money, because people are like my girlfriend, like, I'm going to see Jason Momoa. It's like, at least lie to me about it.
The second time I went to see this, I literally heard girls in the back going like, woo, and stuff when he showed up on screen the first time. I was like, please just...
They're going to be real salty when they find out that he's married with kids to Lisa Bonet, who's like 20 years older than him.
We all know that means nothing.
She was last on the Bill Cosby show, so...
Oh, wow. Throwback.
So anyways, plot, Arthur. Oh yeah, Aquaman's name is Arthur.
I'm okay with that.
That's always been his name.
That's always been his name?
Yeah.
Arthur's a kicking name.
Jason Momoa doesn't look like an Arthur. I guess that's my problem.
Arthur Curry. But I also...
Arthur, so he has to go back to Atlantis because his half-brother is like a huge dick and stuff. So he has to go on a quest to get the best tuning fork and then assemble and then assume rule over mermen. Flashbacks and shenanigans ensue. That's the plot.
I also, like, a quick aside about like Jason Momoa as Aquaman. I feel it's worth pointing out that in so many other characters, you have people angry when someone, like a person of color, plays a character that was typically white. You haven't seen that at all with Aquaman. Because Aquaman in the comic books was this blonde dude with like green eyes. And that's not in this film. And I think part of that's because Aquaman was always kind of a joke. Granted, after this film, he still is. But also because Jason Momoa, like, you're like, yes, that could be a cool Aquaman. The way they do it is cool. And the backstory they build, they bring in another Polynesian guy to be his father. So it's like, all right, it's not like you just have two blonde people to get together and their kid is Jason Momoa. You have a history there. It brings a little bit of life to it.
Why wouldn't they have made the rest of Atlantis look like Polynesian? Like, why wouldn't they have pulled what the Wonder Woman thing did where
I have no freaking clue.
Like the rest of the Amazon sound with the what is like
Aquamom is white with blonde hair. Aquadad is not.
Well, yeah, in the movie,
that's where he gets it from. Though.
In the movie, yes, I'm saying like, why wouldn't they have designed it like the
because
other way
then Patrick
around?
Wilson couldn't have been the evil guy.
He didn't need to be.
I was doing some research because let's be honest, this film they basically crammed a trilogy of films into like 2.5 hours, and as a result.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
It sucks. Like, villains aren't scary because there's just so many of them. None of them getting any stuff done because you got to get Aquaman to the end of the movie. Like, they just go everywhere because they have to get to everywhere, so you don't bother to appreciate anything. Like, it just keeps going.
DC, which has had a good track record of villains before the DCEU anyway, got beat this time around by Bumblebee. Got beat by Decepticon villains.
The movie's a jumbled mess, and it makes sense because the DCEU is also a jumbled mess. It's this train wreck.
That shouldn't excuse a bad movie.
Fun fact? The DCEU is not its official name. Everyone calls it that. It's not its official name.
What is going on now? What's the official name?
There is not one. They do not have an official name. Reviewers and fans came up with the DCEU. They brought it, and the Warner Brothers people said, that's not our name. And they never offered a substitute. They don't have a name for their cinematic universe that they're trying to compete with Marvel with. And there's not even a single cohesive showrunner or president. Like, Marvel has Kevin Feige, who is literally setting the example everyone should follow. Kathleen Kennedy, for all her incompetence, at least lays down the law for Star Wars. The X-Men have some lady named Lauren Schuler Donner. Even the freaking Dark Universe. Maybe that would have gotten off the ground. But they had two guys who were laying down all the groundwork for those films before Tom Cruise pushed their pregnant franchise down the stairs. DC gets nothing. There is no showrunner. The closest they had was Jeff Johns, who was the CEO of the comic company, and he has no idea what he's doing. You know why? Because guess what other film he co-produced? The Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern movie.
I didn't even have to ask.
I thought he was going to say Spy Kids. So.
And he's not even there anymore. He stepped down, or they fired him, and now Walter Hamada is bankrolling them, all the DC stuff. And he also bankrolled the Conjuring movies, which I feel like is why James Wan is directing this and why Patrick Wilson is starring as the villain in it, because he brought all of his Conjuring buddies with him to the DC universe.
So James Wan, before directing this movie, The Conjuring...
He was a horror movie director. Saw.
He was a writer on Saw. Was he a director?
I don't know, but he was a horror guy. He did all horror films.
And he made Furious 7. So this wasn't actually his first action movie. I haven't seen Furious 7. You just made a sound of audible disgust.
All those movies are the same.
You're not wrong.
I will agree with you.
One of them has a flying tank.
It's literally like kids that buy Madden and then buy the next year and the next year. It's the same game. You just have new players. It's the same movie, have new cars.
All right. Fair enough.
Things blow up at a ridiculous pace.
Nothing you said is not true.
I refuse to watch them. I saw the first one. That means I've seen all the rest.
I saw the first 2, 3. I don't even remember.
So, DC, the only name that is attached to all of these is Zack Snyder. Still attached to Aquaman. I'm surprised. I thought he was gone. After
Was he one of the producers?
He got a producer credit. Him and Deborah Snyder are producer credits for this movie.
Because as far as I know, he had nothing to do with the creation of it, aside from maybe throwing some money at it.
I think maybe it just had to do with him just kickstarting all of it, and so they're still going to put his name into future movies.
Because he's basically been booted from it. And honestly, I feel like maybe he deserves a bit of an apology, because clearly he wasn't the problem. Because whatever the problem is, they can't fix it even now that he's gone.
He might have multiple problems. Let's talk about this movie.
Well, this movie, like the rest of the franchise, is just like backwards, and they try to just jam everything in there. Everything.
As somebody who hasn't seen
everything,
the rest of the franchise, the rest of the films, Bob, what else can you say about this movie? Was it entertaining? Were you entertained? Because I was entertained. I said that previously. Yeah. I said that this was eye candy. And from the very first scene, I thought it was.
Dude, it was like watching cocaine.
Scene. Yeah.
You're just like, whoa!
No, I was very entertained. Actually, both times I saw it. Which is something to say, because usually the second time for something, I'm immediately out.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff to look at.
Yeah. I actually enjoyed this. I think I actually enjoyed Aquaman more than Bumblebee.
Just from a purely visual,
entertainment
standpoint.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotcha. And I'm kind of feeling that too a little bit.
Yeah.
Even. I'm kind of sad to admit it, because I thought Bumblebee was like a better movie, but
I would say I'd watch Aquaman again, but I already did, so 2's enough for me.
Right, but like Aquaman,
entertaining, yes.
Yeah, like I said, from the first scene when the mom is fighting people, what?
I'll do that in my bed and ugly or whatever.
When she's like throwing her trident at like the invaders, the home invasion going on. From that first scene, it was that like wide angle sort of thing where the camera's just spinning around and she's just kicking everyone's ass. I was like, whoa, I did not see this coming. This is already more entertaining than I thought it would be.
You don't mess with Aquaman.
I'll be honest, I kind of disagree. It's weird that I would say that, because I'm the DC fanboy at the table.
Yeah, you are.
I was just like, it was visually spectacular, but it was almost too dumb for me. I was like, this is really stupid. I thought Bumblebee was the better movie.
Oh, I still do think Bumblebee's the better movie. And I'm sure if I watch Aquaman again, I will probably start to hate it.
If you would ask me to watch Aquaman for a third time or Bumblebee for the second time, I would watch Aquaman again.
Really?
Yeah.
Aquaman was longer, though.
I know, which really goes against what I like. But
Aquaman was like 2.5 hours. Is that how long it was?
I lost count after one.
It was too long. It should have been several different films.
It should have been. But
Its running time was 143 minutes.
Okay.
For what they actually accomplished, it should have been one movie. They just tried to shove too much in there. Like I think at the end of the first movie, this might be a spoiler. It will be.
We okay. Go ahead.
Well, no, wait. Well, save the spoilers for when we get after the.
We could have gone without the environmentalist subplot. We could have gone without a lot of things. Probably gone without the pirate plot altogether.
That's the thing is like half of the subplots, including the environmentalist ones, like you barely even notice it because they mention it in passing and then they forget it, and you almost feel like they're declaring war for no reason because they never give you time to care about anything.
They do try to do
Stuff
too
just
much.
happens.
They try to do too much, and unlike Infinity War, they don't juggle it well enough where you can kind of follow all of it and where it comes together.
You just kind of being blown back into your seat for 2.5 hours.
You what?
This movie couldn't juggle one ball.
I thought I thought it sounded okay. Like there was music that kind of reminded me of.
I actually really like the score in this film.
Like Thor Ragnarok, like when he's escaping Atlantis for the first time, and it's playing like Tron style synth.
And it's
heavy
weird
music.
but I like the Tron music just because it does convey that otherworldly feeling. Like when they first pull up in Atlantis, it's just like this massive neon light show at the bottom of the ocean. It's like, whoa. And you get the huge sprawling scenery with the big sprawling sound pieces. I was like, that works well together.
I think it helps as I really I like the ocean just in general, like the mystery of it and all that. And so this movie took full advantage of like something that could be concealed at the bottom of the ocean and this sort of high tech. It brought a sense of wonder that was kind of fun. That visual spectacle, I thought. It was very immersive when it happened, like the way the music kicked it up.
I like the score better than the music in Bumblebee, even though the music in Bumblebee is something that I would listen to like on my own time because it's not their music. Everyone's doing Guardians of the Galaxy now, where everyone's just taking their entire soundtrack and just making it classic songs because there's jacking that nostalgia lever. And I'm fine with that, but it's like you didn't do that work. Where this is an original score and it's interesting. It's unusual. I like that.
Right up until the end credits music. I didn't like that.
And for me, I consider myself like a decently musical person. The score...
I mean, you were singing when you walked in here.
Yeah, I was. No, the score didn't do anything for me. I don't remember it. Like,
yeah.
It
wasn't rhythmically memorable.
But when
like,
I was watching it, I don't remember being like, oh, this sucks, or this is great. It was just like, there it is.
Okay.
But, I don't know, maybe that's
fair.
It didn't get in the way, at least.
No,
it
didn't make me enjoy a movie less or anything, but at the same time...
Didn't make you enjoy it more.
It didn't make me feel anything extra.
Right.
Like, it didn't make me feel more tension or anything.
Right.
It was just...
To be fair, there's very few soundtracks now where I walk out of it and then, like, the tune or, like, the theme gets stuck in my head or something.
And that's part of why I think the 70s nostalgia from Guardians of the Galaxy works.
Yeah, because it is something that sticks with you
Right.
after a while.
But it's something
because we
you
don't have
know.
a John Williams anymore, like coming up with themes that
are
scores that are good.
I
Stuff
can't,
that you know
we've harped about this before. I can't
Yeah.
think of a film that has done that. That's not just been a retread of something that someone already put together 20 years ago.
Right. Do we have anything else before we get into spoilers?
I'm ready for spoilers. My body's ready.
Oh man. Here we
Spoil
go.
me,
If
boy.
the mind is willing.
All right. What was good about this movie, Bob? Let's see if you're
actually
ready
have
this
stuff.
time. Oh, you're ready this time.
Oh, baby.
Okay, this...
Oh, is this safe for work?
Yeah.
You had to think about it.
We saw how you were looking at Aquaman.
Whoa. Wow, that wasn't even my good. Aquaman kept it good. But,
Django Fett made a good decision.
Also, why this was eye candy, like
Aquaman
for the women,
and
Jason
Aqualady.
Momoa.
Ooh.
Yeah, for the guys,
Especially Aquaman being
Aquaman,
locked up
Amber
forever.
Heard or whatever her name is.
As
Johnny
the
Depp's
redhead.
ex-wife.
What
As
was
the
he
not
thinking
redhead.
making that an ex? Oh my
Apparently
goodness.
he was like punching her and stuff, and I'm like, dude, when they said
Yo,
hit
Aquaman
that,
could
that
have
is
fought back.
not
You
what
give
they
her a
meant.
trident, Johnny Depp is on the
No,
wrong
not
side.
Aquaman. Mira,
Yo,
the younger one.
She'll mess you
That
up
was
too.
Johnny Depp's wife, and like that's what I'm saying.
Mistakes were made.
Someone said, "Ooh, I'd hit that," and he said, "I already did," and then they got divorced for domestic
Oh,
abuse.
Man. Well, I wouldn't hit that, but she's lovely. Anyway, that's not my good. It's very minor, but that scene in the bar at the very beginning when the fishermen come up behind him and they're acting like they're very irritated that fish man, which is also hilarious to me, is like a thing near them and they want the selfies and stuff like that and they get progressively more drunk in the pictures. That is like the funniest thing to me.
It's also like real life. Like if you see someone like, "Hey, I think I know that guy on TV," your first reaction isn't "Let's fight him." Your first reaction is, "Dude, I want a picture for my Instagram."
But it fits. So especially from Aquaman being like, "Yeah, don't touch me," to whatever that was. It was delightful.
That was when the movie was in its element. If they had kept it like that, a tight thing where Aquaman was just kind of learning to go from the land to the ocean, have him fight Black Manta as like the first movie villain, that would have been a cool movie.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, we got what we got.
Or they could have, kept using Black Manta. But
Dan, what was good about this movie?
Just the climax of the movie looks like the animation department was just handed a large check with the direction, add everyone's idea, go nuts.
And it was spectacular.
Every sea creature is here, and they all have lasers attached to their faces.
and it's incredible.
There's like 6 different types of Atlanteans, and they all die in as many ways as a PG-13 will allow. A PG-13 movie will allow.
They have crab people.
Like
an entire race of crab people.
I enjoyed them.
I enjoyed them too.
Yeah, there was crab people.
They were keeping it real.
We saw them once, but they were cool.
They were shooting like
lava
trebuchets. It was
like,
incredible.
It was like if the Gungans weren't Gungans.
Mantis's head was dumb, but it gets smashed with a giant rock bola. Whoever came up with that dumb idea.
Okay, his head was dumb because that's how it looks in the comic books.
Oh, okay.
That's what that is. And I was actually saying, like, one of my good things is they were able to pull off some of the weirder comic book features, like Mantis's head. For me,
it was less Mantis's head looks dumb. It was more his head got smashed with a giant rock bola. I don't know whose idea that was.
I was impressed.
Wait, as a good thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was on board with
I
that.
liked it.
I never liked his costume that much, but I was like, if you're going to transfer it, that's the way to do it.
King Orm, as in the dick that needs to get dethroned.
I was surprised they gave him that articulated faceplate. I was like, whoa.
He loses to Aquaman because nobody taught him the turn your giant fork into a 747 jet engine trick. Like, that's what Aquaman does. He just starts spinning his...
By the way, he never learned to do that. That we saw.
That's true. The
we saw
montage just shows...
so many flashbacks.
We'll get into that in the bad section, because I feel like that's on all of our lists.
Yeah.
Aquaman started spinning his fork around like a baton, and it starts going like...
It's like the flight twirler from SpongeBob where they blow up the blimp.
I knew this was a SpongeBob ripoff.
The fact that we're referencing SpongeBob in this movie.
Dude,
it was
stingrays swim in Space Invaders formation. I was thinking of Space Invaders during the final scene of this movie. It's ridiculous.
Your movie can't jump the shark if you jump over the shark as your starting point and just go even crazier from there.
With literal sharks. The camera was doing barrel rolls. My primal side took over and I wanted to start making orca noises in the theater. Bob had to restrain me.
I wish that happened.
But seriously, like, the film was visually spectacular. It is the ultimate compensation for everything everybody hated about Batman versus Superman, because they're just like, oh, you're mad we don't have any color in these films? Hey, Marv, throw that breaker over there. Just dump all the color into this movie. All the color we can find, just throw it in there. They even make Aquaman's orange jumpsuit look like halfway all right. We talked about we like the score. I actually like the supporting actors a lot. I thought Jango Fett did a great job. Nicole Kidman. Normally she's not that great of an actress, but like she was actually emoting, which was interesting. It's a weird film where William Dafoe has the most leveled and dynamic performance, but there he was as a supporting actor doing a good job.
He wasn't like an absolute madman in this
movie.
Like
he's a good actor, but yeah, you almost always see him playing just a nut. Like, he just has a face that says, I'm a lunatic.
He does lunatic well. That's why everybody will remember him fondly as, like, Green Goblin or that guy from
Boondock Saints. There was a firefight! This whole movie was a firefight.
They start talking for a little bit, like slow, like we get a slow scene, and then suddenly the director's like, all right, that's it, we're done, cue explosion.
It's like he doesn't know how to make a jump scare in not a horror movie, so he just starts blowing stuff up.
There was a part that probably should have been a horror movie. We'll get to that in a second.
Any other good stuff about this film?
Bob, what do you got? You got anything more? Yeah, right. We're putting
Not for good.
Not for good.
We got it's visually spectacular. It's got some great music. It's got some good supporting actors, and it's just a wild, bonkers ride in the best way in that regard.
But the bad.
There's a lot of bad.
Because this movie is bad.
Lead actors and their dialogue just absolute trash, just across the board. And the thing is, some of these people are good actors, and they're just not acting. Like, they're given stupid lines. And in Bumblebee, they're given stupid lines, they deliver them well. It's like, okay, that was a dumb line, but that person, they leaned into it. This one, they're just kind of like, they just repeat it like a robot. There's lines that don't go anywhere. There's like a vague reference to the wall around Atlantis.
We don't have time for you to get these lines right. We gotta move into the next freaking explosion.
And cut, take, wait, what? I wasn't done yet. Too late. It's already gone to print.
After Aquaman's given a rousing motivational speech by his mother about, going and getting that trident because he's about to be the new king of Atlantis, Jason Momoa gives the expression of someone who just had their Lunchables stolen by the camera operator.
Oh my goodness.
It's like, what direction was he given to make that face? Like, did anybody remember this? Because that was burned into my mind. I thought, Jason Momoa, why are you looking at me like this?
I don't know. The whole story was all over the place, and as a result, you just don't understand. You don't understand and don't care why people are and feel the way they do in this movie. Like, stuff just happens, and you're not given time to consider it.
This movie reminded me of Star Wars Episode 1 in all the worst ways, where, like, people complain about those prequels. The biggest complaint is all the politics, and that was, like, the backstory behind everything that the villains were doing. Is, like, we go cut back, and their villains' politics something. Why?
For me, some of the bad was like the out of place Marvel humor, and I feel like I'm complaining about that a lot, and I feel like it's because a lot of studios are doing it. My biggest beef, when they were having their first throwdown, King Orm and Aquaman are like, we're gonna fight each other for the throne, and it's a setup because Aquaman's a chump and doesn't know how to fight underwater, and so he gets his ass kicked. And they have like this big scoreboard that shows up before they start fighting. It's like King Orm of the Undersea, pros, all this stuff, cons, nothing, and then it's like Arthur, the half-breed mongrel, pros, nothing, cons, everything. And it's just like, it just flashes up there, and it's like some guy got drunk on the production set and just slipped it in there, and James Wan is like, I'll leave it.
I thought that was actually pretty funny.
It was funny,
but it didn't seem to fit. A lot of stuff was like that.
To me, that part of the movie, it wasn't into it far enough for me to really care about it. Like, that was still kind of like set up.
It's meant to be like this tense moment, and then it's not, because you're like, oh, it's a joke. The whole movie is just a joke.
Well, I can't argue with that.
It's nice to see in 2018, Aquaman is still a punchline.
That's true. They couldn't make anything feel really suspenseful in this movie because you're just having too much fun either making fun of it or just
watching things blow up
and being in awe by what the next bizarre thing they're going to flash in front of your
because like James Wan is a horror director. Things should have been scary. Like the trench should have been terrifying. Just like having them creep up onto the boat or like having them following them in the water. Instead, they just jump up on there like a bunch of rabid little two-legged piranhas.
They shouldn't have been on the boat. Wait, can I say something about that for a second? Like,
no.
It's just the Marianas Trench, right? Isn't that all they're talking about?
No, this is a deeper trench.
When they say the trench,
this is a super trench.
No. When they say the trench, they're referring to that race of fish people, presumably because they live in one of the ocean trenches, and it's like they mention this briefly in the film, but they skim over it so quick you don't pick up on it. Some of the underwater people stayed the same, some evolved, and some devolved, and the trench devolved.
So I got that part of it, where like the split of the races.
Yes.
But the location was what bothered me. This is, all these races of people stay hidden. The people that devolved, however, are like these mindless monsters. How is it that nobody else on Earth found out about these things?
I have no idea.
Because they probably did, but they're creepy and they like to kill things.
That's a good point.
Now,
it's not like the trench come up and shake your hand and say, "Come on down."
Like I didn't like. They kept
the trench said, "Come on down."
They kept flashing. They kept flashing locations on the bottom of the screen. They were real quick. Sometimes we missed them. Well, I was going to say, they didn't flash a location for the trench saying, like, somewhere in the Bermuda Triangle, because that actually would have made a lot of sense. But I feel like that didn't happen.
This is where...
I was covering myself in case it did and I missed it.
This is where I think Aquaman, without realizing it, could have created its own type of humor. Not put, I guess as you put it, Marvel humor in so much of it. In that it is so crazy. Aquaman in and of itself is so much of a joke. They could have spitfired things like that at you at a rate where they became funny.
Well,
those location names, those started becoming humorous to me.
Yeah.
Because they kept popping up so frequently.
And that's the thing is they need to build their own humor. I think Jason Momoa was actually onto something with kind of like the dumb frat bro take he was doing for the whole thing. I'm like, that is somewhat amusing, and then it makes it even funnier when he gets his butt handed to him. Like, he's like, oh, I could have just peed on it. Everybody laughed. It was dumb. It was funny. One of you guys literally said that in the theater. Why didn't you just pee on that thing that needed water on it?
I did say that, yeah.
And then Aquaman goes, I could have just peed on it.
Like literally 2 seconds later.
I was like, you're right. You could have.
It was solving like an Indiana Jones puzzle.
No, it was like like a Fifth Element puzzle. It's like, oh,
that's right. Yeah.
The water thing needs water on it. So she like Avatar water bends his sweat.
And she
onto
doesn't
the
take
thing.
her own sweat. Takes his.
It's like, guys, you're in the desert. You need that. You need that body water.
I was thinking that too. Yeah.
A bunch of fish people. You're out of your element.
The story presentation, like I said, was terrible. If it weren't for the movie being eyeball crack, I would have just fallen asleep.
Disclaimer: do not put crack in your eyeballs or in your body at all, for that matter.
Yeah, leave that on the table.
Drugs are bad.
Oh, what was the King Orm plot? Because when the movie wasn't dangling all the shiny carrots in front of our faces, like it was trying to like have King Orm say stuff and make me care, but I couldn't.
King Orm was angry.
He was trying. It's what I got. Like he seemed to be trying to unite the different races to go fight the people on the land.
Yes, King Orm.
But
wants,
he failed.
He wants to be in charge, and he says that it's because he wants to defend Atlantis from the Earth. And you kind of get the impression he's just a power-hungry poopy head, but you don't really know.
Couldn't have said it better.
And then they like, oh, he's not all bad, but he's kind of all bad, but you're never really sure, and they don't really bother to explain it or develop his character at all. And they exile him. That's it. I mean, he's got a mask where the eyebrows move, so that's cool.
I want one of those.
There's like this metal, like, and he has it in the comic books. I was kind of surprised that it's like a metal faceplate that's like making expressions for him.
I forgot about that.
I could use that.
I feel like that's a good segue.
You could use that.
I feel like it's a good segue into the ugly, unless you got some more bad stuff.
Sure. Do you got any more bad?
I have a whole list of bad.
All right, keep going.
Oh boy,
Keep going.
just rattle them off. Rattle them off.
Because Lewis has been ranting a lot.
All right.
Rattle 'em.
First bad. The sword that Black Manta gets from his daddy. You never see it again until he throws it at the little silhouette of Aquaman at the very end once he gets...
Oh yeah, at that time it actually stabs him.
You
yeah.
never see it. This
Well,
is supposed to be
why did-
something that's like huge and like this is like you're actually the head bad guy now. Don't use it ever.
Why was he swordproof before and then not swordproof later? Because before he like stabbed him and it didn't stab, and then later he like chucked his dad's magic sword at him and it stabbed.
You mean when he's fighting Aquaman and he's able to stab him?
I was gonna say later on, isn't he using Atlantean technology?
He's
or
using
something?
Atlantean steel.
Yeah,
he says that.
Because apparently
That's why
underwater steel is better than above water steel.
So that means it wasn't even his dad's sword that he stabbed him with later.
The sword that he gets from his
No.
dad is like a tiny little dagger.
Oh, it's a knife. It's a knife that like their grandfather used or
It's
something.
like a little
But
memento, and it doesn't come in until after the movie's over.
Yeah,
It doesn't
and then
come
he
until
doesn't
after.
even use it against a being. He uses it against like a wooden wall.
Yeah, it would be.
Oh yeah, you have like Alex Jones of the ocean that rescues him. And that's how the Atlanteans turn the frogs gay.
Also, on a very smaller note, why can't they hire actors that know how to scream? Every time that King Orm or whatever was screaming, it was like, ah! Like, there was no power behind that at all. And that irritates me a lot.
You know the scary part? That guy was in all those horror movies. He's considered what they call a scream king.
Well, not there.
Which is ironic.
Oh, that's right. He was in.
He's in all the Conjuring movies. Or two of them.
Was he also in that movie that we saw about the VHS tape?
I don't remember.
That like Sinister.
Yes,
Sinister.
I think
He's
he
in
was.
Sinister. He's
I
the
think
dad.
He was.
Jumanji?
He's considered a scream king. I thought you had to have like a really impressive
Yo, I should be
yell
Scream King.
to be a Scream
Wow,
King.
they
I've only
made
ever
three
heard,
Sinister movies, and he was in all of them.
I've only ever heard Scream Queen.
That's the thing, is there's not a whole lot of Scream Kings, but apparently he's one of them. And apparently he can't scream.
That's literally what it was. Like, I was ready to be, like, really into something, and he bellows out just like...
It's like Simba's baby roar.
But worse. Worse.
Not yet. What else you got?
Lay him on us.
It felt like National Treasure, which I like National Treasure, but not in Aquaman.
I like National Treasure, but not without Nick Cage.
I'm okay with the idea of National Treasure, but in Aquaman, don't make him go a million different places.
Gotta solve the
Make
puzzles
him
to
go,
get
like-
the treasure.
Yeah.
The Masons buried this at the bottom of the ocean in another dimension.
As soon as they introduced that plot point where Willem Dafoe's like, you gotta find this trident, I was like, oh man, are we like already an hour into this movie? What is going on?
And subplot number 24.
As someone who has not seen anything, doesn't know anything about comics or anything, I thought Black Manta looked like what Ant-Man was supposed to, but he also looked like a villain from Power Rangers.
Villain from
Villain from Power Rangers that's right on the money.
And that's an ant head, but I can get over that. And I thought the punishment that William Dafoe got was terrible. Like, in that sense, if the king knows that if you are not with him, like, you don't just get sent to a different room.
Go to your room!
Yeah, but we'll let you see everything still. Like, if you want to flash SOS, you can do it. But, like, no, you kill that dude. But the thing is, there's really no deaths in that movie that matter. That could have been one. That could have been one, because it was the, like, underwater father figure, showed him how to fight and all this stuff.
That's a good point. With all of the death and destruction that was in this
Nothing
movie,
happens
nobody...
They have no idea where this franchise is going, so they don't know which characters they're going to need.
I just, if you could have picked one to do it, I think that was a strong case.
It's true, because they didn't kill either of the villains, did they?
Do you have any more bad stuff?
Not anymore bad.
Because my first ugly thing involves William Dafoe.
Oh, he is pretty ugly.
Ugly? I mean, he's ugly on his own, and in this movie, he's got a man bun and spends the entire film in a close-fitting bodysuit. not what you want to think about.
Where do I go from that? Close-fitting...
There's nothing more ugly than that. Let's be real.
I don't know how to top that.
Is that a mollusk in your pants? I'm just happy to see that.
Mine's a very, very, like, big... Mine's just like a nitpick of a very specific shot. There was a scene at the very beginning when, like, they're introducing Aquaman. He's, like, walking through steam coming out of the pipe when they're in the submarine. And it's a slow motion scene, but it does not look like it was shot at a high frame rate. Like, it looked jerky.
I didn't even
It bothered
notice it.
me. You've seen it twice, and you probably haven't noticed it.
The slow motion thing I remember is when Black Manta is, I don't know if he's running to his dad or running to the ladder, but it's slow motion running, and the look on his face, it's weird. I don't know. That made me it was so weird. It almost made me uncomfortable.
What other ugly do you have?
I have two uglies.
Oh,
One,
man.
I think the tracking that they used on Aqua Lady was
Mm-hmm.
messed up. They had a great escape, especially when they go down into that lava pit, and then they end up in Shemu's mouth. I thought that was great, but you know what? Their tracking, that meant nothing.
Yeah.
And I think that could have been cool.
Yeah.
But my biggest ugly, they're trying to go to war because land dwellers are messing up the water so bad. I really wish they would have showed me like a whole bunch of sick Atlanteans because of all the waste and crap in the water.
Because
You don't see
well,
anything.
there's no connection to why you would want to go to war.
Right.
And I understand that King Orm wants to go to war because he can to an extent. But like, if you want to get me to think that you should actually go to war, show me some kind of hurt.
The villains did not have very good motivation at all.
No.
Like he said what his motivation was, I guess, technically, which is what you
Tell
mentioned.
me, show me.
Right.
And that's the thing is, this film, it just added stupid lines of dialogue where we didn't need any, that just removed all point of the scene, and then also went out of the way to show us things that we didn't need to see where a line of dialogue would have sufficed. It's like, oh, you showed me how to fight. Better show a flashback of him fighting, including a whole bunch of stuff that's not relevant except for one final scene in the film, which you could have done any other way, Just flashbacks after flashbacks. They have all these establishing things that you don't need established. You have other things that desperately need to be grounded in something, and they're just like, that's the way it is. And they roll on.
I thought that they could have done like one solid establishing scene if they had learned from a little bit from anything. Black Panther, I thought set up Wakanda really well. In the very, very first part of the movie, before they flash the Marvel logo, it's somebody telling he's telling T'Challa, his son, like the story of Wakanda, how it came to be.
The setup.
They should have done this in Aquaman.
The setup of
everything. What you were saying when we were leaving, though, is like when the mom is telling her kid the story about the history of Atlantis.
Should have animated that. Should have, given it to the audience. Don't just tell it to that kid. Tell it to us and show it to us.
When they were setting up literally setting up the universe, or at least Atlantis, it was so just like there was nothing going on with it. I swear I could see the script in the actors' hands, like they were reading it to me, and I didn't. Yeah, that was too much. There's a way to set things up. Don't read it to me.
Yeah. Aquaman's learning like way too much about Atlantis in his adult life, and it just seemed confusing. Like for the point of that story, like I understand why that was, but it didn't sell us very well. Like when he's coming the walls for the first time, the walls of Atlantis. Which, by the way, if they're underwater, people can swim over those walls. Why don't they have a ceiling?
They have the cannons.
They need to fund a ceiling. I'm telling you,
cannons that you can't
the
get
wall's
through
not enough
unless you actually know how to fly a swimming plane.
That's the thing. Is like there's like they're talking about the cannons on the wall. They're making some stupid liner comments about it. It's like all you need for that is just to have a shot linger over the cannons tracking something. I was so glad they didn't actually have the cannons blow someone up as they were going over the wall right after she said that, and I was so afraid they were. But it's like so much of that pointless exposition. Like Aquaman has eyeballs. He can look at the giant cannons, and we can see those giant cannons too. Be like, oh, can't go over the wall because of the big giant cannons.
And they literally said that just to be like, watch us go over the cannons. Like, no. That's what happened.
Right, they do that just to set it up.
A 5-minute stretch too.
They don't expect their audiences to be very intelligent. I suspect
they are not intelligent either. So it
the audience.
No, the people that made it.
Oh, okay.
I feel like DC is learning
some fun
slowly through each film that they're making, and it's like they're learning weird and sometimes the wrong lessons from each movie. But it's taken too long. And if it isn't for the extremely forgiving and generous fan base that's throwing money at them, they wouldn't be able to get away with this.
This movie's making a lot of money.
It's already the number 2 highest grossing film in their entire franchise. Like,
thanks to the fact that this movie has
pretty people in it.
Pretty
yes,
people.
They do.
And pretty set pieces, so much more action in it than Bumblebee does. Transformers used to be, like what you said, the big money-making movie in China. Now it was Aquaman.
Well, it's also beating everything domestically too. It's the biggest. It's number 2 domestically as well. It's just making a lot of money because it is a wild ride. You can turn your brain off, see some attractive people and some attractive set locations. You go, like the guys go for Amber Heard and the girls go for Jason Momoa, and the people that are into freaky weird stuff go for William Dafoe in a bodysuit.
Oh my goodness!
Oh, no. Wait, we did not mention that Dolph Lundgren was in this movie.
Oh yeah, Dolph Lundgren's in this movie.
It was just surprising. I don't know if I felt one way or another about it. I was just like, that is Dolph Lundgren. Why are you here?
I hated it so much.
I keep forgetting that his face is fat now. And I was like, who is that? Wait.
I wanted him to be Russian.
He plays the...
He's not
the
Russian,
other
though.
king?
No, I wanted him to be
king?
because of Rocky 4.
Well, hold on a sec. The old king of Atlantis or something?
No, there's
What's the
another
character?
kingdom.
This is what the politics of the movie.
Dolph
It's
Lundgren is
boring.
Nereus. He's the king of the Atlantean tribe of Zebul.
Oh, it's a different tribe.
Yes, it's a different tribe. That's why they meet at the very beginning, is because Orm, who is the king of the Atlantis, the city of Atlantis,
join everyone together.
He has to talk to Nereus because Nereus also has an Xbox huge army that they can go conquer other tribes with.
Oh, man. Okay. Are we going good with our uglies?
Yeah.
I've got nothing else to say about this film.
Recommendations. As the biggest DC fan, Lewis, Aquaman.
But
It's finally been done. The Aquaman
he has the
movie
most
is here.
room to be like, though.
Yeah, that's true.
I have no room to be and I'm not.
Honestly, you might as well go see it because everyone else is going to go see it, and it's not like your money's going to be wasted.
Peer pressure is great.
It's a fun film to watch. You're not going to go there and be like, wow, I can't believe I spent money on that. I want my money back. You're probably going to leave thinking, wow, that was a pretty dumb movie, but it was fun.
You're also not going to hate it seeing in the theater, just in general.
It's
because
an experience. It's not a
Yeah.
good story. It's an experience.
It's kind of like when Avatar came out, you know? It's just...
Except,
It's a theater experience.
except unlike Avatar, it's not painfully preachy.
Wait, is Aquaman better than James Cameron's Avatar?
Everything is better than James Cameron's Avatar. It's the most overhyped movie in the
But
history
there's
of
going to
mankind.
be another trilogy of movies.
And he's spending like $1 billion to make them. This is
Bob, you look confused.
Why? How?
That's what I said.
Apparently,
I don't
it's
know
just
anything that
Aquaman.
happens in it. I just know people are blue.
All right, well,
It's
That's it.
let's go back
it's
to
actual size Smurfs.
Let's go back to the movie.
It's
you
like
saw.
James Cameron has a fetish for tall, skinny blue people. He's like, I'm going to make an entire movie where someone can become a tall, skinny blue person
based on his DeviantArt
and
fetish.
bone the heck out of them.
Hey, whatever works for you, dude.
All right, Aquaman. Back to your recommendation, Bob.
I'd watch it. I've watched it twice. That's more than I can say for almost any other movie. I wouldn't buy it, but it was, and I don't want to have to think during my movies.
This is perfect for you.
I just want exactly. I just want entertainment.
And that it is entertaining.
Yeah,
I can't fault that.
And Aquaman.
And Aquaman.
I have never seen someone
This is why
so
we-
interested in Nicole Kidman of all people.
This is why we.
Yeah, when you wear a fish get up, apparently that helps.
This is why we brought you, Bob. Not for your criticisms, not for your
Ladies-
deep, insightful thoughts. It's for
We are just glad to be here for Bob's journey of discovery.
yeah, that's
Self-discovery.
Right. That's right. I personally would also recommend this movie as just a fireworks show. That's all it was. The fights, okay. Actually,
The ending apocalyptic battle was like spectacular, but it's where do you go from there? You just fought the entire ocean with the other ocean.
But like even the beginning before they got there, the fights with Mantis, the live action choreographed stuff was
That
I
part of
was loving
Sicily
it.
where like the fish dude was running through walls. That was pretty cool.
They're running through walls, like tracking her running on the roofs. It's just going back and forth. The camera's like moves from one fight and like zooms over to another one, like old 50s action cop drama style. I don't know what I'm talking about.
You're right.
On a trail of thought.
It is a fireworks show. It is spectacular. It is brilliant. It is dazzling, and it is super shallow.
Absolutely.
So this might.
That's about it.
this
That's my
might-
recommendation. If you want something where you don't lose brain cells, SpongeBob might be smarter.
Oof. Big oof.
This might be just me because I don't know anything about this universe, but in like take Marvel for example, you have superheroes on land. What do? They fight villains on land. Atlantis seems to cover the whole ocean. Where else do you fight? Because you need help from other people that have the advantage in water. But you already conquered the water.
I don't know, man. You're just flailing your arms about in the ocean.
Aquaman 2, get in the raft.
I think it's time to
That
look
was-
ahead.
That was the movies. We did see a few movie trailers. So looking ahead, what do we have? What might be reviewing next?
Well, January is next.
Even if you're not here, Bob, what did you like?
I thought you were like, oh no, maybe you are.
What?
Was I supposed to like remember trailers?
I don't care.
Good, because I had to watch a movie. I can't pay attention to that end trailer.
January is coming up, and literally everything is trash, with the one exception of Glass.
Oh yeah, I'd watch that.
Like that's we'll probably be back here for Glass because there is nothing else good in all of January. It's just
I really
garbage.
am excited to see Glass. Split was great. Other trailers we saw,
Alita Battle Angel.
Alita Battle Angel. That's a thing.
I'm not watching that at all.
So I read the original manga it's based off of, a little bit of it anyway.
Nerd.
And I was enjoying it, but I'm sure this movie, like every other anime manga adaptation, will probably fall flat. So we'll wait and see. Godzilla, was it King of the Monsters? That's what this one's called?
But that's all like March and June. Like I'm excited for Godzilla because I think
Yeah.
that looks. I mean, I grew up watching the old like rubber bodysuit monster villain Godzilla things. Like that was my jam. Like just some Japanese guy dressed up as Angry Barney. Let's go.
Oh my goodness.
But nothing else good is coming out until like March. Unless you want to go see How to Train Your Dragon.
I mean, I liked the first two. What's it called? The Hidden Worlds? I feel like they've just done this plot for the third time over. Hey, there's dragons everywhere.
That you don't know about.
Go find them. Oh, shoot, there's even more dragons and they all need our help. Dragons everywhere. Third movie. I wonder what it's going to be about.
And you
we
can
found
take-
we found a place with lots of dragons. They all need our help.
You can take
Dragons.
one parent with you.
One parent with you.
Yep. There's a limit. You get one.
Pick your chaperone.
You already lost one. Have fun with mom.
Oh.
Spoiler.
Sorry, Hiccup. Not sorry.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will be back here on March 1st for Tyler Perry's Medea family funeral. This has been Dead Man Walking.
And I've been Dan.
I'm Louie.
I'm still Bob.